Well, here we are. So we're going to talk about peripheral vascular surgery. That's one of the topics for your lecture this week. So the main thing with peripheral vascular surgery that I want to impress upon you is needle and sharp safety. Obviously, if you're talking about the vasculature, you're talking about the circulatory system, you're talking about blood. So you're going to be working around a lot of needles. You're going to be working around blood vessels. So obviously, we always want to interact with the blood as if it's something that can be infectious. You never know what the person has, whether they've shown results for something or not. You want to always make sure that you're protecting yourself. Make sure that you're always protecting the people that you're working with. So when you're passing needles, when you're getting needles back, when you do a lot of vascular surgery, you get a lot of needles that are sometimes handed back cavalierly on rubber shots, or because they're doing a lot of suturing. Make sure that you either have a safety zone where the needles are being placed, or that only one person is handling needles, you and the surgeon. You don't want people passing you needles, because as you're passing needles up, somebody's passing needles back. So that's the main thing about peripheral vascular surgery, is sharp safety and protecting yourself and the people that you work with. Obviously, when you're doing vascular, you're working at restoring circulation. That's the main purpose for working on vessels, is to restore circulation. You do the different types of bypasses, you do the different types of embolectomies, you do thrombectomies, you do embolectomies. There's lots of different things that you're doing. But of course, the whole main purpose of that is to restore circulation to those areas that are now ischemic due to impaired circulation. You're going to be sewing vessels. If you're doing a bypass, or if you're going in to do an embolectomy, then obviously you're going to have to open up those blood vessels, meaning that you're going to have to sew them back. Sewing them back, you want to make sure, of course, that the vessel is watertight, right? It has to be sealed properly. It's not going to help anyone to have a blood vessel that has no integrity, in that the blood is leaking from the vessel. You want to make sure that you're maintaining the blood in the circulatory system, but you are not decreasing the lumen of the blood vessel. So when you're using your double-armed prolane, because they're going to start at one side and go all the way around, you don't want to have to go all the way around. Of course, you can't do that, so that's why the suture is double-armed. They start at one place, and then they usually start at the bottom and come up one side and come up the other side. So you're going to use a very fine needle holder. That's where your Ryder needle holders and your Castroviejo needle holders come to play. They're very fine because you're using 5/0, 6/0, 7/0, 8/0, 9/0 sutures sometimes for vessels. I guess maybe 7/0, 8/0 is probably might be the smallest that you're going to get. And you're using prolane. When you use prolane sutures, you want to make sure that you're not clamping the needle holder or the clamp on the suture, because you're going to destroy the integrity of the suture. If, for whatever reason, because you have a running suture, you get halfway around, or for some reason that one suture breaks, you're going to lose the whole integrity of your suture line. So when you're using prolanes, when you're doing vascular, you're going to use rubber shod sutures. Okay, rubber shod clamps, excuse me. So those clamps, they have manufacturer-made rubber shods. We used to make them from elastomer tubing, but now they come manufactured, so that they'll be in a little thing like for peanuts. They come in, you poke the hemostats in there, the mosquitoes in there, and you're going to use those to secure your sutures, or to keep them from moving around. Okay, because as the surgeon, he or she is using the one side, the other end is usually rubber shotted. That way you know where it is, everybody knows where it is, it's a needle, and you don't tug on it or break it, because that's going to affect the suture line. Okay, but make sure that those things are on the actual suture, the rubber shot, not the actual clamp, because you don't want to destroy that suture line. And you want to make sure that when the surgeon gives them back to you, that they say needles back. You know, again, that's the sharp safety, so that you know that you have sharps coming back, and obviously those sharps have gone through the vessel, which means that they've been contaminated to that person's blood, so you then don't want to be stuck with that. Okay? So I mentioned embolectomies. That's using usually a balloon. They'll make an endarterectomy. They'll go in there up past the clot and they'll pull it out. Okay, pull the clots out. Obviously, they're going to be using irrigants. They're going to use their heparins, heparinized saline, to irrigate and get all of that clot material out of there. Okay, a lot of times they'll go in and they may open up the vessel, and like if they're doing a carotid, and they'll go in there and they'll dissect around and deliver that clot out in block, because obviously when you're talking about the carotids, they want to get that clot out, but they don't want to break it or fracture it and cause emboli to go into the brain. Okay, so they want to make sure that, so you're going to be using your forceps, using your freer elevator. You're also going to be using your pot scissors and those kinds of things to get those, get that plaque out of there. And then of course you're going to be irrigating with your heparinized saline to make sure that you're getting all of those, all that foreign material out of there, so that we're not sending it flowing into the vessel to cause some type of a blockage, okay, later on. I talked about how we're already using proline, we're using the rubber shots. Sometimes you will do vein strippings. There's certain catheters that you'll take in with head. You'll feed it all the way up. You make another incision, put the head on, and pull it out so you can strip that whole vessel. That's for people who have varicosities. Okay, so you will do vein stripping. There's AV fistulas, arteriovenous fistulas, meaning that you have to, and sometimes you will use the person's own vessel, or sometimes you'll use grafts. People who are on dialysis, where they need to have those large bore needles on a weekly basis for their dialysis. So you will have to use tunnelers, because you'll be laying down either graft or the other person's own blood vessel. So you can also use grafts for bypasses. So you may actually have to get something, the different types of tunneling tools that will, you'll open it and you'll tunnel around and you'll pass the graft, and then that'll bypass the native vessel and create a new arterial vessel, a new vessel, so that you can use dialysis or to just restore circulation. So those are that's basically all there is to peripheral vascular. Go ahead and review your reading, the different types of bypasses, fem, aortal bifem, AV. There's lots of different bypasses, and we'll talk about the cardiac bypasses when we get to the cardiac section. Okay.